Friends and history buffs, thank you for joining in the 50 Chinese old sayings with Michael again. How are you guys doing today? My name is Michael Lu. For today's episode of the 50 Chinese old sayings, we will be doing all the good things for Qing and Jing. And again, all the good things for Qing and Jing. And in Chinese, it's 秦晋之好. And again, 秦晋之好. It is an old saying used to praise a coming marriage between two close families of long-term relationship. In our sixth episode, we have mentioned the Jin state, and in today's episode, we will be talking about the Jin state again. But we will also introduce for the first time the Qing state. Geographically, the Jin state was in the north. The Qi state that we talked about in the fifth and seventh episodes was in the east, while the Qing state, although originated in the west, it had continued moving eastward for the next 400 years to become the last one to stand after unifying all the other vassal states in China during the East Chao dynasty to have created the Qing Empire in 221 BC. People say that the word China may have been originated from the word Qing to suggest a connection, but I'm not so sure about it. Let us first move back the time to around 650 BC, about 430 years before the Qing Empire came about. When the Jin Duke married his daughter, the Bo princess, to the Qing Duke in 656 BC to strengthen the relations between the two states, a common practice among the royal families at the time. Ever since the marriage, the Qing Duke had basically listened to whatever the Bo princess had to say about Qing's relations with the Jin state until after she had died 20 years later, when the Qing Duke finally got to do what he wanted about the Jin state. The Bo princess's father, Jin Duke, the guy we mentioned in the sixth episode, already had 8 sons before he took his youngest mistress, the Li princess, as concubine, who had given him another son, Ji. One day the eldest son, Ji, as the first prince, was ordered to worship and commemorate his deceased mother's soul in Chifu, and to return with the sacrificial meat for cooking and serving to his father. Just as a footnote, the sacrificial meat at the time was raw when presented at the worshipping ceremony and must be cooked before being consumed by humans. But the Li princess first poisoned the meat, then had it cooked. When the meat was ready for serving, the Li princess stopped the Jin Duke, warning him that one can't be too careful as the meat was from far away. Then she had tried it on a dog and then on a slave. Both died instantly. Hearing this, the Prince Ji, knowing that there was no other way he could have gotten away with it, had first deserted to Chifu only to commit suicide in the end. Knowing that Ji, their youngest brother, would be the one as the rightful heir, the other 2 older sons, both Ji Yiwu and Ji Chong'er, both fled the country to seek shelters elsewhere. One day in 651 BC, the Jin Duke had died, leaving his only heir, who was at the time only 14 years old. One top government official, Li Ko, not happy about the father's last choice, had launched his rebellion forthwith to have killed both Ji and his mother, the Li princess, on sight at father's funeral in 650 BC. Li Ko's first choice was Ji Chong'er as the older brother, but Chong'er had turned it down, thinking that Li Ko, being a kingslayer, to have created so many enemies for himself all at once, could get him into trouble. Li Kou then tried Ji Yiwu as his second choice, who was smart enough not to accept the offer right away. Instead, he had pleaded the Qing state to back him up from outside. In return, he had agreed to turn over a large piece of land and several townships in the west of the Yellow River to the Qing state, to which the Qingmu Duke, through the Bo Princess good office, had obliged and had escorted Ji Yiwu back to the Jin state, who then became Jin Hui Duke in 650 BC. But later, the animosities between the two states had erupted when the Jin Hui Duke refused to turn over the land and the townships, alleging that all the Jin people had opposed it. However, the Jingmu Duke, although upset, did not take any retaliatory action to even the score. By contrast, he had even allowed emergency food supplies to the Jin state 4 years later when the Jin state suffered from severe drought. But Jin Hui Duke did it again to shame himself for failing to return the favor the next year when Qing state had suffered another drought of similar severity. Not only that, he even thought it was a good time to invade the Qing state when it was at its weakest while being struck by famines. However, the Jin Hui Duke lost the battle and, from bad to worse, was captured alive too. When all the people in the Qing state were talking about executing the Jin Hui Duke for being ungrateful to the Qing state over and over again, while the Bo Princess had come forward to save her younger brother's life by having a scaffold built with firewood underneath it, ready to be ignited, claiming that she would burn herself and her children with the Qingmu Duke if they should kill her younger brother. Having no other choice, the Qingmu Duke in the end set his brother-in-law free with one condition, leaving his son, Ji Yu, as his first prince behind as hostage, which the Jin Hui Duke agreed and then returned to the Jin state, but not for long, when he found himself seriously ill, leading to his death in 637 BC. While Ji Yu was in the Qing state, the Qingmu Duke had decided to marry his daughter, Wai Yin, to the first prince to carry on the praiseworthy tradition between the two states. But Ji Yu had jumped bail after hearing that his father was about to die, leaving his young wife behind after she had refused to return with him. However, things had taken another turn in 636 BC when the Qingmu Duke had escorted Ji Chong-er back to the Jin state to replace his nephew, only after marrying Wai Yin once again, but this time to Ji Chong-er as Ji Yu's older uncle. With the Jin state's full support, Ji Chong-er had returned to the Jin state to take whatever his nephew left behind after running away, only to be assassinated later, so that Ji Chong-er had become the new boss after 19 years in exile all over the places in northern China. Hey guys, this wraps up today's episode of the 50 Chinese old sayings. All the good things for Qing and Jin. And again, all the good things for Qing and Jin. And in Chinese, it's 秦晋之好. And again, 秦晋之好. Many thanks for you to join in and listen to this episode of the 50 Chinese old sayings with Michael. And until next time, I wish you all the best. Goodbye and have a nice day.